Most of you are justifiably and rightfully angry at Blake Lively, but there's another character in this It Ends With Us drama that deserves a lot more attention, and that's Justin Baldoni's former publicist, Stephanie Jones. Welcome to Popcorn Planet. I am Andy Signore. There have been so many new complaints and adjustments and responses. We're going to go through tomorrow during our live a lot of it, but I wanted us to do a standout video to reaffirm my suspicion and finger pointing at this Stephanie Jones woman who we've previously reported on, but I don't think enough people are really calling out. Look, I know most of you guys are Team Justin. Some of you are still on the fence, I guess. Whatever side you're on, both sides should be angry at Stephanie Jones for starting this mess in the first place. And now Justin, thankfully, along with Jennifer Abel, are suing his former publicist, Stephanie Jones, alleging that she maliciously leaked texts that sparked the legal battle with Blake Lively. And it sounds like they have a fantastic case. Let's go through first Brian Friedman's comment on this. It's undeniable that Stephanie Jones initiated this catastrophic sequence of events by violating the most basic of privacy rights, as well as any remaining trust her clients held. No stranger to stirring up crisis scenarios for departing clients, Miss Jones maliciously turned over communications from the phone she wrongfully took from her own partner to her cohort, Lively's personal publicist, Leslie Sloan. Immediately after Jones was terminated by Wayfair due to her own wrongful behavior. So basically, yeah, Stephanie Jones is fired by Wayfair. She's there defending Justin against Blake in the early days of the PR battle, the retaliation campaign. Stephanie Jones was part of it. And so now suddenly Stephanie Jones switches teams and gets this phone from Jennifer Abel, which we're going to go through more of the specifics that are alleged in here, and then immediately gives it over to Blake's publicist, Leslie Sloan. And then there's texts and calls where Melissa's being called saying, yeah, I have your phone. We have your friend's phone. We have all the information. Ha ha ha. How is this legal? How is this allowed? And was there actually a subpoena that the New York Times says there was when they got this phone? Those are all the questions being asked, and I want to go through. We're going to try and do a quick summary of this because, again, I hope enough of you really start looking into this Stephanie Jones character. She's a scary figure that, as previously reported, a lot in Hollywood are afraid of. But let's go there. I need your help. Let's go there. And I hope my fellow sleuths out there will start shining a bigger spotlight on her, which I hear she doesn't like. So let's talk about this. So within a few weeks of Abel, Jennifer, joining Jones' work, there was a mass exodus of employees from the New York office. Abel understandably was concerned, but Jones assured her that all the departing employees were horrible at their jobs and they're going to be fired regardless. Little did Abel know that the turnover of that magnitude was typical of Jones' Works employees, which routinely faced large-scale departures by disgruntled and demoralized employees. What Abel did quickly realize is that morale against Jones' Work employees was outright abysmal, and such departures were invariably acrimonious, and that departing employees and current employees alike were all extremely tight-lipped and fearful of engaging in any sort of discussion about their experience with Jones' Work. So again, that's an important part to get through as we start this on these notes. Now, Abel was disgusted by Jones's pattern of practice of creating these fake social media accounts to troll former employees and journalists that she deemed hostile, including Puck News's Matt Baldoni, who we've reported on before. He's an insider. Jones was obsessed with Baldoni, and particularly Abel witnessed Jones working with journalists to plant and contribute to negative stories about former clients who had fired Jones Works and Jones. It's funny because I did see Friedman just did an interview on Baldoni's Baldoni's Puck podcast. So it's clear Friedman's paying attention and throwing those bones out to make sure that everybody, that's Blake's team sees who they're helping and aligning with. So again, obsessed with the Puck News, who's out there against her. Also obsessed, and specifically a certain publication, the Business Insider, who's afraid of Stephanie Jones, which I showed you earlier. Abel was not responsible for the Business Insider piece and learned of it for the first time from Jones herself in early July 2024. The Insider piece shed more light on the real Jones. Always a volatile personality, Jones had become noticeably more paranoid, erratic, and cruel in recent years. It shed light on the toxic workplace she had fostered at Jones Works and regularly would turn on deafening music so that she could berate her employees free from scrutiny. I don't think there was one day in the office that someone wasn't crying. Jones also pried in her employees' private lives without invitation. As detailed by Insider, employees would call in sick, but she'd then FaceTime them to confirm they were actually sick. At one point, someone was at a funeral, and Stephanie Jones had to FaceTime them at the funeral to confirm they were really at a funeral. This is how messed up Stephanie Jones is. It's crazy. She would then be an erratic screamer, as Puck would report, and then plotting her own revenge campaign, etc., as we learned about here. Jones had always been volatile, but now she appeared to be actively unraveling. Abel was often on the receiving end of her bizarre outbursts. In one instance, she announced to Abel's subordinates that Stephanie had learned through psychic readings Jennifer Abel was an alcoholic and a gambling addict. Even if these statements were true, Jones' public announcement would have been highly inappropriate. However, they were not remotely true. They had literally no basis in reality, and the employees to whom Jones made this pronouncement were aware of that. But Jones presumably intended to undermine Abel's credibility, and had actually significantly undermined her own and raised alarms about whether Jones was in the midst of a mental breakdown. On a different occasion, Jones announced again, per her psychic, that Abel would soon be pregnant with twins, humiliating and infuriating Abel, who Jones knew had struggled with fertility issues, which reminds me of Blake and Kirsty. So look, it's awful as we see her building accounts, doing all these things. It only gets more and more crazy as we go through here. On information and belief, Jones stewed in resentment and indignity, unable to bear the loss of another Jones work client, Abel. She set out to take revenge on Abel, Wayfarer, Baldoni, and Nathan, exploiting the data that she had unlawfully accessed and stolen from Abel's phone. So let's talk about that again, because I think it's incredibly important. As we know, Blake files this in December, the CRD complaint, the letter, filled with all his reports, but also filled with those text messages. Where did those text messages come from? Well, 2 days before her last day on August 21st, right at the end of all the bad press that Blake's facing, she arrives in the office where she's confronted by a physically imposing security guard, forensic data extraction technical expert, and an attorney, all at a conference table awash in documents. After being ushered into the conference room, she noticed that the security guard was posted outside its doors, positioned between the conference room and the office entrance, blocking her exit. Therefore, the attorney gestured at the documents and instructed Abel to review and sign them. Attorney stated that Jonesworks suspected Abel had retained proprietary information on her laptop. Abel was told that Jonesworks would have grounds to sue if she'd not allow them access. Note here, Abel, clearly very naive. You should have let them sue you. You should have just called your own lawyer. No one can make you do that, guys. No one can make you do that. Call your own attorney first. Call anybody and say, okay, I hear you. I'm going to be calling my own attorney. This intimidation tactic is all to scare and to intimidate you to hand over what they want. So they're telling her, we can sue you if you don't hand it over. The complaint adds that Abel, who was confident her computer contained no such data, turned over the devices, but was pressured to also relinquish her phone. She agreed as long as they would confirm that Joneswork would immediately release her personal cell phone number, which would enable Joneswork to take possession of the physical device without gaining unrestrained access to its content. Again, so frustrating that happened, because again, that's not how it works. Go to the store together. You then gave full access to the phone. She's told, oh, we're going to go out to Verizon. She's waiting at the store in Verizon to release her phone number, which she wanted to keep. 4 hours of desperate unanswered calls. She left Verizon in a panic. She realized Jones had double-crossed her in a very serious way. By refusing to release the number, Jonesworks had usurped her contact information and cut off Abel's access to critical accounts protected by two-factor authentication through the phone, FaceTime, Face ID, etc., linked to the phone number. As a result, Abel lost access to her iCloud, personal photos, messages, bank information, utilities, insurance, every other sensitive account. By contrast, Jones now had unrestricted access to everything stored in Abel's phone, text messages, personal photos, etc. This is insane and super illegal. All of that violates California labor laws, according to Abel's employment, according to the lawsuit, which makes, honestly, a lot of sense. It's absolutely bonkers that they were able to do this. She's confronted with this person. She does all this stuff. And then when it gets even crazier is Melissa Nathan claims that Leslie Sloan calls her. We have call logs here coming in from previous documents that talked about this. Melissa Nathan is now suddenly called by Leslie Sloan, who gets information that clearly she only would have gotten from Jennifer Abel's phone. So they're out there sharing this stuff, which is even crazier. She calls and uses Nathan's text against her, etc. All of this just goes to haywire. All again, why? All because of Stephanie Jones, this crazy psychopath PR person who has a history of turning on her clients, from Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, Jeff Bezos and Lauren Sanchez, Tom Brady. She's had a lot of really high-profile clients, and uses that to sort of scare everybody else. When they leave her, she tries to threaten to ruin them, disparage them. So now, going through some more of this, it's important. There's even more. On information and belief, Jones stewed in resentment and indignity, unable to bear the loss of another client. So she took revenge. On information and belief, Jones turned over contents of Abel's phone to Lively and her team without a subpoena, so they could slice and dice their communications to construct a false narrative about the source of Lively's bad publicity. That's clutch right there. And turning over these materials to Lively, Jones knew full well the blowback would engulf not only Abel, but also her clients, Wayfair and Baldoni. As a result of Jones's malicious scheme, Abel's life has been turned upside down. Her career and reputation have been destroyed. Her private information leaked. Her email inbox, social media pages filled with daily stream of death threats, etc. Backlash against Wayfair, as we know, equally devastating. All of these still has her private photos and data, which Abel has every reason to believe Jones will further use to exploit to nefarious ends. Abel lives in fear of what Jones has in store for her and what other client confidences Jones is willing to divulge in her fit of pique at Abel. All this because Abel dared to leave Jones' work. This is sad, scary stuff. Like, I know we're in this a lot to look at and defend Justin, but there's other people we can't forget. It's not just Justin. It's these publicists who have now been ratted. Oh, they're doing the most awful things out there against Blake Lively. Let's look at Stephanie Jones's phone. Let's look at Leslie Sloan's phone, right? Are they as innocent as they're claiming to be? Because I don't believe they are. They're just as guilty, if not worse, right? And that's what's so hypocritical and crazy about all of this. It's absolutely nuts. Now, Jones reached out voluntarily to Lively's team, offering what she believed to be ammunition against Wayfair, wielding reams of Abel's private communications, using creativity to slice and dice, stripped of context, to create that false narrative, as we previously discussed. Embattled, Lively was licking her wounds after, obviously, all the promotional missteps, off-putting public appearances. Jones believed, and was ultimately correct, that Lively and her team would be willing participants in her scheme. That's why I say everybody should be mad. Even Blake Lively should be mad. I do believe, and clearly Justin's implying it, that Stephanie was doing all this to massage and get her way and to trick Blake. And Blake was willing to accept and hear anything, which is her own dumb problem, her own issues, and all of this. She fell for it. She absolutely fell for it. Now, Jones was after Jones suddenly fired Abel in the midst of this crisis, leaving Wayfair in the lurch. Communications between Jones and Wayfair broke down. Jones vacillated between insisting they only speak through lawyers and making erratic, deranged threats to sue, demanding exorbitant payment for the work not done, insisting against evidence that she was doing an amazing job. All nonsense, all craziness. This continues. Although they did not yet know how Jones had taken things, Wayfair considered her behavior to be a material breach of the agreement and advised Jones that they were terminating her agreement at the end of August. In December, they learned of the full extent of Jones's betrayal as a result of the deliberate and unlawful disclosure of their private information, which Lively's team, mind you, exploited to concoct a false and disturbing narrative about them. This is where it goes. Following the coordinated drop of Lively's fantastical civil rights complaint and explosive New York Times article, Wayfair and Baldoni became objects of public scorn and derision. He's been wrongfully labeled, these, as we know, yada, yada. But anyway, all direct result of Jones's actions on behalf of Jones' work. Now, to wrap up and sort of final thoughts here, Brian Friedman says, Stephanie Jones, founder of Jones' work, has a well-documented history of highly questionable conduct in the workplace, which the Lively parties would have seen with even the smallest amount of online research. It's true, even we saw it all. Yet they walked right into Miss Jones's ploy of bitter revenge against her most trusted employee at the expense of her own long-term client. We will not stop until our clients are cleared of all wrongdoing and compensated for the vast damages they have incurred. Now, I hope you're sitting down for the last piece I have for you, which is Jones's lawyer's response. Miss Jones's lawsuit is based entirely on facts and concrete evidence. Her lawyer says to Variety, our suit clearly shows that Jen Abel conspired with Melissa, Nathan, and others to steal reams of confidential documents, clients, and staff, and eventually attempt to destroy the business that Miss Jones spent decades building. It sounds like Jones did that all on her own. But I digress. Abel, Nathan, Baldoni, and their co-defendants attempted to achieve these outcomes through bullying, distortion, and outright disparagement. No, that's clearly what you're doing right here. These facts are backed up by dozens of messages provided in the suit we filed a month ago. You mean the ones you pick and chose and cut up and took the context out? Okay. They cannot be credibly disputed. Okay. Having no facts or evidence, we see a familiar playbook. Smear our client, culminating in the work of fiction, masquerading as the counterclaims that we were filed yesterday. Yeah, whatever. Okay, Jan. Okay, Jan. Look, at the end of the day, the bottom line is, yes, we can be mad at Blake. She's got a lot she has to atone for, no doubt. But this Stephanie Jones woman sparked the match and knew it. Maliciously sparked the match. In my opinion, I agree with this argument. She has so much she has to atone for. This is insane what she's done. I don't think anybody could have imagined how big this would ultimately turn out. And she may regret it now, but why she did her lawsuit first, because she knew she was in a lot of trouble. And so she had to come out swinging to attempt to distract and do that. So I hope we all won't get distracted and forget this woman in this. We're very invested in Justin and Blake. I get it. But we should not lose our sight of Stephanie Jones. I've actually had a lot of people reaching out. And if you have experience with Stephanie Jones, please reach out to me. I've had people that will not go on record yet, I'm working on it, who have video of her flipping out on people like in the craziest of ways. There's a lot of dirt on there out there about her. So I sense a lot of people in Hollywood are just joyously waiting for her downfall based on her own behavior. So if anybody else can talk to me on or off the record about insight, please let us know. Ex-employees at Jonesworth, anybody, reach out to us. You can hit me up on Instagram at Popcorned Planet or at Andy Signore. Let us know. I'd love to get more information. I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid of you, Stephanie Jones. Maybe I should be. But I've been through the fire enough, and I know I got your support. You'll have my back. Let's uncover this rock a little bit more. What do you say? Hope the rest of the sleuths out there will as well. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit the bell for all alerts, smash like, and share this one out there. Let's get the word out on this. This may not get as much attention, but it really should, because I do believe she's very involved, and justice needs to be served here as well.